welcome to Focus on B, the video series where I spent about 20 or so minutes playing and talking about a game that I've got some thoughts on, and this is Need for Speed Underground 1, Through the Window, Through the Wall. We will not be listening to that because copyright. So I've disabled all the music, so enjoy the sound of engines, or music if I... No, I'm not going to edit music in. It tends to be distracting, especially if there's vocals, but anyway, so, Underground 1. So I was one of those kids that played Hot Pursuit 2 and Underground 2, and somehow had absolutely no clue that there was a Hot Pursuit 1 and Underground 1. I guess I probably could have figured that there was one if there's a 2. And you know what, with Hot Pursuit 1, I think I can almost be excused, because that game came out in 1998, and even by then it barely ran on current PCs by the time that I was a kid. So I wouldn't blame myself too hard on that. But with Underground 1, it's like, how the hell did I not hear about this? Somehow I still have like the mental image of this game's cover art, like I remember it. I remember seeing it, but not the game itself. So Underground 1 is essentially if you took Underground 2, but you got rid of the open world. And you know what's really funny? That even though most people will generally consider Underground 2 to be superior due to its greater variety in presentation and overall gameplay improvements, I think I'm not going to say I think I'm starting to like. I think I just, in general, like Underground 1 a tad better, I want to say. I really hope you didn't hear that loud-ass knocking sound that almost just... I'm not sure if it came through on the mic. I bumped it really hard. Anyway, shut the fuck up. I need to put some stuff in here. Does it even make a difference? Well, I guess I'll put the drivetrain thing because it's all about the power, right? Let's be real. It's all about power here. Even though it doesn't seem to really make a difference. I've already upgraded my car, so that doesn't matter. So anyway, you know why I've started to prefer this game? Well, simple, because I think I've expressed this opinion in multiple different videos. That I have, over time, just stopped really caring for open worlds. I won't hate a game just because it has an open world. There are still plenty of games that I still like. I still love Underground, I do love Underground 2, still. I love Most Wanted and Carbon. I'm actually one of the few people that even when it was new, because people have warmed up to it, but back then, even when it was new, I still kind of like Payback. That has an open world as well. I kind of like Undercover too. Don't tell anybody. I've got a whole video about that one. So, yeah. Or even other genres. I mean, I love Sonic Frontiers, although I spend most of my time playing the cyberspace levels, admittedly. But still, what else? What other open world type? Open world shooters? You know what? I've actually never played any of the Far Cry games. Well, any of the open world Far Cry games. I've played the original. I can't really name any open world shooters. Does Turok count? Because Turok 1 and 2 have such huge levels that they almost could be open world. Kind of. Well, they're relatively linear, but still, they're pretty damn big. You can go through them and not really find everything, right? Unlike in Turok 3, where it's basically just Half-Life. I'm going to do a video on that at some point, but still. Anyways, why do I dislike open worlds? Well, I don't dislike them. I just feel that there's something more exciting about when the developers have curated a path, a way for you to play through the game. Let me just turn down my volume real quick. It's a little bit loud. A path through the game that has been hand-built for you to... Not that open worlds are not hand-built. Well, not always. Some games will procedurally generate. In fact, I'm sure that most open world games, just for the sake of easing development, will just kind of... the developers will generate, using some kind of algorithm, a blank canvas for a world, and then maybe manually populate it, putting some, different architecture and stuff, or we'll have an algorithm that randomly spawns in different elements of, like, the gameplay, so enemies or collectibles or whatever it might be, and I totally understand that, right? It cuts down on development time, maybe costs as well, obviously costs as well, and will sometimes actually result in a more fun experience when things are more randomized. I'm not the biggest fan of random factors in games because I like things to be memorable. I like them to be consistent, right? That's why I can never really vibe with, for example, some of the newer Colin McRae Dirt... I can't call him Colin McRae, but some of the newer Dirt games where they will use random generation for the maps, for the tracks. It's an incredible piece of technology, absolutely. But there's just something about a hand-built track where you memorize certain corners and parts of it feel familiar. It's comfortable. It's warm, right? I can't imagine, like, if every time I did a race, the track was different. Even if the random generation was so advanced that even a randomly generated track felt handmade, that's not really the point. I'm not saying that, oh, it randomly generated stuff feels soulless. No, because what is soul anyway, really? But it's more of a matter of the fact that when things constantly change, you can't really get accustomed to it. Now, with some games, RNG is a must. I mean, imagine if in Minecraft, the map was the same every time. That would be, oh, that's how the demo for the game is, I think. Or one of the demos. There was like this weird PC Gamer demo where it put the fucking PC Gaming logo on the pigs, I think. That was a fun one. I actually found an archive of it, and I was able to find diamonds in it, so that made me happy. But anyway, or imagine most roguelikes and stuff with no RNG. That would kind of go against the whole point of the genre. Absolutely. Or even maybe RPGs where damage is based on random stats. I'm just going to pick easy mode for this, man. Let's go back to talking about the game itself, Underground 1 specifically. I'm not the biggest fan of drag events. I don't think I've liked them in any Need for Speed game. Any of them. I don't care for them in this. I don't care for them in Underground 2 or Most Wanted. They were also in 2015 and in Payback, I think. Don't care for them there. I don't care for drag events. Just the concept of holding the accelerator down and shifting occasionally and hoping that you don't crash into a freaking car because the way the game's lane system works. Now with Payback, they actually I think with, no, not just Payback, I think with 2015 as well, they updated it so that you actually drive normally. Some people had a problem with that because it felt like maybe it was too much for the player to focus on at once, but the truth is, if you drive with manual, you're going to be shifting manually anyway, so it's not as if it's anything new. I think it just makes it less stiff, because there's nothing worse than you're doing a drag event in one of these games, and you come up to a corner where the road, it kind of merges into one lane, and you don't really know what the game's going to do. You have no idea where it's going to take you, where if you're going to stay in that lane, if you're going to go a little bit to the left or the right, and there's a car coming, and you're just like, what the fuck do I do at this point? So you start just frantically mashing left and right to hopefully try and swivel away, and you usually just die, right? Because yes, your car can get totaled in these events, which I always thought was really odd to introduce that element of realism out of nowhere, because the Need for Speed games have never been total, like, oh, you can wreck your car. I think in almost every single Need for Speed, well, not in every single Need for Speed game, but in many of the Need for Speed games, there actually is an element of car damage, for sure. Like blowing your tires, or at least some visual element. Oh, it's a tournament of drag races. God damn it, I picked the worst possible time to record this. I really should have played through more of the game. I've completed this game like 3 times, and I just recently reacquired it. I re-downloaded it because it's abandonware. I mean, you really think I'm gonna fucking pay some random guy on eBay for his old copy that probably won't even work? Because guess what? This game, some people have had some luck getting it working on PC with patches. Honestly, I've tried it so many times and never gotten it to work past like the 3rd race that I just gave up. I'm playing the PS2 version, if you could obviously tell by the way it looks. Although, I think when it comes to console versions, I almost want to say that the GameCube version is actually the way to go. It looks different. I don't know if it looks better or worse. The colors are a bit different in it. It doesn't have that same motion blur. It runs a lot better. Although, it's not consistent. It'll kind of chug occasionally when there's more stuff going on. When you're on your own, especially on a time trial event or something, the game is buttery smooth. But like for example, right now, at this point, the GameCube version would be chugging hard. Now, in a couple of seconds when I start to break away from the pack, the GameCube version will go to 60 FPS, and there it is. There's the lane mechanic that I was talking about. I'm not a fan of that. And I will fully admit to manipulating the emulator's speed to making these easier. Because yes, you can obviously decrease, just like how you can speed up emulators by doing this. I shouldn't have done that. You can also decrease the emulator speed, which makes these events a little easier. Not much easier because you're still getting the same number of frames to react. You're just given more time in the real world to see them. But it's not as if you're actually slowing the game speed down. You're literally slowing everything down. So you're kind of still, especially because the game only runs at 30 FPS, you don't get that many chances to shift properly. But anyway, so I don't like the drag events that much. I hope this is the last one. This should be the last one. It is, thank God. And I even get some upgrades. So let's go ahead and upgrade our car. I'm not going to make it look like a complete rice rocket right now because that is an element of the game that becomes mandatory later on. Or, wait, or does it? No, that must have been Underground 2. Because remember in Underground 2, at some point, you would stop being able to progress until you modified your car to a certain extent. I don't know. Let's just go ahead and I think it was the ECU. Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure the packages don't make any difference whatsoever. So I just install whatever. Just there you go. Mass True. We don't have rate reduction yet, but that's okay. I love those little stylized icons. I actually used one of those for the thumbnail for this video. Man, games that have great iconography are so wonderful to work with for YouTube videos because you don't have to come up with something. You can just take it from the game and make a thumbnail out of it. It's so great. Seriously, I cannot stand it when a game doesn't have good icons and stuff. So I have to come up with something on my own. And I can't just put the game logo because that's even lazier. Well, I've done that for some games, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, back to Underground 1. What else do I talk about? I mean, the car handling. You know what? What's interesting is that some people have expressed complaints that the relatively simple car handling makes the early game a slog. Because, for example, in a more simulation-focused racing game, even slow cars can be fun to drive because of the difficulty of the handling. Here, the handling is quite simple, but I wouldn't necessarily agree that the early game was... I mean, yes, now I'm zooming. I'm going way faster now, so we're officially no longer in a slow early game category. Like, we're going a lot faster now, so it's fun. But even before that, even when I was still, like, in my stock Neon, I don't know, I think the handling was still pretty enjoyable. I think that's what it's always drawn me to Need for Speed. Well, other than the fact that it's been a very PC-friendly series, you know, even though the best version of Hot Pursuit 2 is on console. But anyway, it doesn't really matter right now. Yeah, because as a kid, I didn't have consoles, right? I've said this many times before. So I wasn't playing Gran Turismo. I wasn't playing Mario Kart. I wasn't playing Forza. And I didn't know what emulators were, not to mention at the time my computer probably would not have been even been able to comprehend the concept of emulating anything higher than a PS1. And so that was a no-go for me. I was like, oh, this game is on computer? Yes, I like Need for Speed now. And yeah, no, another thing I've always liked about Need for Speed is the fact that the handling has always been kind of grounded. Well, no, saying always been isn't accurate, especially considering that I've done a video. Did that just say CGR? What the hell is Classic Game Room doing here? This is before Classic Game Room was even, well, no, Classic Game Room started in 1999, and then they kind of stopped, and then came back in 2007 and 8, but... That's funny as hell. I think there's actually a sponsor, a made-up sponsor in Top Gear Rally for the N64 called LGR. Huh. That's quite interesting. And people have pointed that out too. But anyway, that's funny. So where was I? So I was talking about the game's, the handling. So actually, no, it's not totally accurate to say that, oh, Need for Speed has always had semi-realistic handling, because no, if you've played Need for Speed 2, no, that was not the case. In fact, out of the classic era, the only Need for Speed games with like proper car-style handling where it felt like a car was the first one. More specifically, the 3DO version, the PS1 version of High Stakes, and the PC version of Force Unleashed. And from that point on, they've kind of stuck with this sort of arcade handling that has weight, and I like that. It's not Burnout. I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna get shit for this, but I've never really liked the handling in the Burnout games, apart from maybe Paradise. Oh shit. Yeah, really, it feels so hollow. If it's better than Ridge Racer, I guess. Ah shit, I just realized I have no idea how to... Oh, there you go. That's how you look behind. Now I know. How am I gonna... I don't like playing with the rear view mirror because it's distracting, so let's see if I can... Yes, okay. I think I might be able to hold him off. No, you civic bastard. There you go. Okay, I got him. We'll be fine. So I really do enjoy the way the car's handling this game regardless of speed. While it is I think a large portion as to why I used to strongly dislike the slow starts of Need for Speeds was mainly just my impatience. I mean, you know, I played a lot of these games when I was a kid, so I was like, no, I want the Lamborghini now. And I would intentionally download save files, or well, actually I would ask my cousin to download save files for me. Like, I used to think it was a hacker or something. It's like, oh my god, he downloaded the save file. Yeah, because that's what you do. That's just download a save file and then you get all the cars. Cool. Except, funnily enough, I guess I wasn't aware of the challenge series, because the challenge series that was introduced in Most Wanted, just it lets you drive the cool cars right off the bat. But anyway, so what else is there? I mean, I love the instant fun of this game. It's so fast to just jump into, and the menu-based structure means that you don't really have to spend any time driving from race to race. I understand that when you don't do that, like with a lot of newer games, they introduce fast travel. And yes, fast travel in open world games is very convenient. However, something you do lose, I will admit this, something you do lose with fast travel is that feeling of belonging to the world. You don't really care about it as much because you don't have to drive through it. Which is probably why, despite the fact that Carbon is a very good racing game, I feel, despite its flaws and the fact that it was rushed, well, they're all fucking rushed. This game was rushed too. This game was supposed to have an open world, but it didn't because it was rushed. So, yeah, they're all rushed. Let's not pretend like it's the only one. But anyway, haha, you crashed. This game has some sick rubber banding too. Anyway, despite the fact that I really do love Carbon as well as Most Wanted, but with Carbon, I could never really say I felt as much of a connection to the world because you can fast travel. I remember, yeah, you can do that. And that's cool because it saves you time. However, as a result, you don't drive around as much. And seeing as the cops are not mandatory in that game at all, you can totally ignore them. You just kind of forget about Palmont. Is that even what it was called? Was it Palmont? Palmount? I don't even know how you pronounce it. Was that even the name of the city? Or am I thinking of a different place? See, I can't even remember. I know that this was... Bayview was in Underground 2, and Rockport was for Most Wanted. And then I don't remember the rest. Fortune Valley was Payback, I think. I have absolutely no idea what the one from 2015 was called. I don't remember the freaking names of the cities. Like, I'm not that much of a Need for Speed nerd, although I do love Need for Speed quite a bit. Although I haven't played Unbound, and I don't really plan on getting it, to be honest. I mean, man, any fucking game that requires me to use, like, the EA app, I'm not into that shit, okay? I may have swallowed the Steam pill a long time ago, despite being Eastern European, which is kind of implies some things that I have openly shared and discussed because I just believe there's nothing taboo about it. But with EA Play, like, fuck that. I remember I installed Origin a while ago when I got 2015, and I'm never doing that again. Oh god, I'm never doing that again. Which is probably why I might have mentioned in a previous video that I might be doing a video on Rayman Origins. Oh, I'm totally doing a video because I have a thumbnail and everything ready. Actually, believe it or not, I have a lot of thumbnails that are probably never going to see the light of day. But anyway, let me tell you, it most likely won't be the PC version because Uplay. No, it might still be the PC version, but it won't be the PC version, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Or I could also just emulate the Wii version, to be honest. The Wii version is actually very good, because it genuinely surprises me that, despite the fact that the Wii runs at like 480p, they've kept the assets super crisp, like super high resolution. If you increase the resolution via Dolphin, it still looks really good and really crisp, which surprised me. I thought they would have, you know, smooshed the resolution of the assets for the sake of the fact, because it's on the Wii. It's like, why would you make it any bigger? Anyway, that's not really relevant right now. Let's just talk about the drift events before we end it off. Yeah, I don't like drift events. I've never liked drifting in most games. I don't mind it as like a power slide thing and like a kart racer. But I've never really cared for the drifting in any of the Need for Speed games. Just the concept of it is just not all that fun. Just sliding, oh cool. Carbon's drifting is really exciting, I gotta admit that. Especially with the Battle Royale mod, I think. That's a terrible name for a mod. Well, it makes sense given the context of the game. You know, the battle for territory. But god, that is such a badly timed name because... you know what kind of games are super popular, right? It doesn't feel right. Even Racevic had to convince his viewers, like, no, it's not what you think it is, you know? But anyway, because he did that video on Carbon, right? It was very good. Where was I? Yeah, I actually don't mind the drift class for Payback, and I gotta admit, like, if you were to take into account the amount of time I've spent drifting in Payback, you'd probably think I love it, actually, because I've completed Drifting the Block, the first drift event, well, it's not actually the first drift event, but the first replayable drift event in Payback, probably several thousand times, because I don't actually know if it's the best way to get money in the game. There's tons of money guides. Black Panther probably has one from years ago, but anyway, he used to do those. I mean, he probably still does for whatever game is current, but haven't watched them in a really long time. Anyway, yeah, but I remember doing that just so many times because it was really fun and simple, and I memorized the lap. Like, I could probably do a lap of that event with my eyes closed, honestly, because I've done it so many times. It's just muscle memory. Well, as long as I'm with the same car every time. And
how many horseshoes you carry? Don't think your luck is gonna...
Okay, no, dude, I'm not gonna... Whatever, I'm just gonna complete this real quick. But yeah, I can't exactly tell you why I don't find drifting events all that fun. I think the reason why, though, I would probably have to say that Payback has my favorite drifting in the series is only because it's not treated as a completely separate handling model. It's just a modification of the vanilla handling style. Because the thing about Payback is how these different car classes, which became malleable in Heat, which I really liked, instead of it being rigid, like a rigid system of like, this is this kind of car. But basically every car would have slightly different handling characteristics. It's not like here though, where you have a separate drift handling style altogether, right? No. It's still close to the normal handling, but am I gonna win? I won somehow, nice. But it is a lot more slidey, and I actually really enjoyed the way the car is handling that game. I gotta do a video on Payback at some point, but it's so big, I don't want to download it. It's like 1 billion gigabytes. Like, it goes on sale pretty often on Steam, too, so I could actually get it legitimately. Yeah, oh, wait a second. EA Play. Yeah, I'll have second thoughts about that one. But I do like it quite a bit. I haven't played it in a long time, though. I played it a few years ago to benchmark it on this new computer. Well, it's not so new anymore, but when it was newer, ran pretty well. Pretty heavy CPU usage, but I mean, it's an open world game, so I can't really be too surprised about that. But yeah, I might do a video on that at some point if I fucking sell my soul to the devil or something to get... Ugh, EA Play. God, I actually have an Origin account, but I don't know, like, is it going to ask me to make a new account, or is it going to want me to use my Origin account, and then will it tell me that, oh, you can't use this one because you've already used that same email? Jesus Christ, confusion. Yeah, chances are maybe EA won't see any money from me for that game. But anyway, enough talk about things I probably shouldn't be talking about. This has been another episode of Focus on B, the video series where I spent about 20 or so minutes playing and talking about a game that I've got some thoughts on. This has been Need for Speed Underground, PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, PC, and various other systems, 2003.